Hi, folks. We're here at week 5, and we are going to talk a little bit more about a model for integrating technology, which is this what we call the SAMR model. It stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So you'll read more about it, but basically, it's kind of a simple concept. Technology use covers a spectrum. So you can do something at a very basic level, or you can do something at a more advanced level. And technology can do more to transform that lesson at the higher levels. So, for example, I have in the weekly notes you see, and actually in the discussion for this as well. Just some examples of what you can do with basic technology. So if you're using, say, a Word document, substitution is using the Word document to write a paper, right? Yes, it's using technology, but it's something that we can easily do without that technology. They can write it on a piece of paper as well. And yes, it can be argued that writing on a piece of paper is also technology. We're going to call this digital integration, if you want to split hairs and get technical. But we're looking at, using digital technologies. So doing just a paper and a Word document, really, it isn't a bad thing. And sometimes it's exactly what we need to do, but it's not necessarily changing the world either, right? So what do? Then we might amp that up a little bit. Once we start augmenting, we might now be taking advantage of some of Word's tools. It has the ability to, do grammar checking, spell checking, automatic page numbers, headers and footers, all that cool stuff can be part of your paper that is an advantage to if you're using the digital technology as opposed to the pen and paper route. So now you've added some items from the technology to augment that assignment. You still don't really change the assignment. They're still just writing a paper, but you're using some of the tools to your advantage. Then once you start modifying and redefining things, then you're kind of ramping things up at that point. So now you're starting to really dramatically change what your lesson is about. Maybe you're not writing a paper anymore. Maybe now you're writing some sort of collaborative paper, research, whatever, with other kids. You've got groups of students, maybe doing this from different locations. Maybe you're adding other technologies to this. So, maybe they have pen pals in some other part of the world, and they're going to write a paper with the pen pal. And so they would use now Google Docs instead of Word because that allows for that collaborative exchange to happen more easily. And that even kind of transcends into redefinition, because now, this is something that's pretty difficult to do without technology, right? To be able to talk to someone else, to be able to collaborate with somebody else in that way is pretty difficult. When you add multimedia onto that, then that adds that additional piece of now there's video inside that Word. The original paper, it could be the same research idea, but now we've stepped it up to a point where instead of just telling us, 5 different types of animals and categorizing them, now you can ask students to talk about where these animals come from, what do they eat, where do they live, what does that place look like, what are they endangered species? Can they talk about, the aspects of their environment that have changed over the past few years? Whatever. Now you can add on to that assignment and make it that much more exciting, interesting, and get a lot more out of students than if you stuck with the substitution stuff. So you're ramping up your lessons, you're ramping up the use of technology at the same time. So that's SAMR in a very, very brief nutshell. And there is a video in our Flipgrid that does an even better job at making it even shorter to try and explain SAMR in 60 seconds. So you can watch that as well and a few other things. But here's more information about SAMR. If you're still having a hard time getting your head wrapped around this concept, there's still more you can read and look at. And then your goal for our discussion is just to, think about a lesson, an activity that you might do. It might be the one you did a few weeks ago with the ISTE standards. It might be something new you come up with. But talk about something that you could come up with for your classroom, and then try to apply technology at each of the 4 levels. It might be the same technology, or it might be different ones depending on where you're going. But do your best. We're not grading you on whether you're right or wrong, because there isn't necessarily always a right or wrong on these. But just do your best and think about how you could integrate SAMR through each of the 4 levels with one basic activity that you might do with students. And that activity might change. So as you go up those levels, you might explain how your activity would grow and change to suit that. So do your best. This one's usually kind of fun because we're all sharing different ideas, but have some fun with it. Read through some of the articles, watch some of the videos, and that should help you quite a lot. But I look forward to seeing what everybody comes up with.